Hey everybody, we're going to start our webinar here. I see lots of familiar names and a few familiar faces. Hey Janice. And Pat, I see a few names. My screen's filling up. So I see Pat Hale. Hey. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I have a lot of things to cover. I know a lot of you know who I am. Some of you are new to me. I am Andy Barney, and I'm going to tell you a little more about myself, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get started with this. This is for the Featherweight Service Workshop. I know a lot of you have been following my journey for a long time, and this is a really big day for us because COVID really derailed our efforts to launch the Academy last year. We were to the point where we were working 12-hour days, almost 7 days a week to try and keep up during the quarantine with the mask making. I'm incredibly grateful that we could be a help in such a hard time, but this is really where my heart is at this point. As most of you know, there's been a decline in competent technicians for a long time. And I can tell you after last year, it's worse. So many people are burned out. They're tired. They're like me. The pressure was so bad last year that I just have seen a lot of good friends that are a retirement age that are said they're done. So this worries me more than anything in the realm of vintage machines. And that's because even when we have competent technicians, anywhere you get training now is not with vintage machines, is with modern machines. So with all of us that rely on our vintage machines, you can take it to your local dealer and most of the time they're not going to know what to do with it. And this happens with featherweights too. So that's why I'm here. This workshop is for you. If you have a 221, 222, or 301 that you would like to maintain yourself, and if you don't have one yet and you want to acquire one, we do a lot of education. One of the components I'm working on now, not even for this workshop, but as a separate free kind of a video, is to help you to stop getting scammed. There are so many scams right now. I just saw a lady that thought she found the deal of the century last night and paid $70 with free shipping for a featherweight and got a tracking number, and inside the box was a pair of sunglasses. So scamming is such a big thing right now. And it's getting more and more difficult because people realize these are high value machines to you and me. We also the online realm has given us so much information, and yet it has done not a great job of it. So you can spend hours scouring the internet, being in Facebook groups, and still end up with not great information. And if you want to find a featherweight that needs some work to bring it back to life, I want to be able to give you the tools to do that. Because what I'm seeing on eBay when they're not scams is machines that have a little bit more of a rough exterior, that maybe the motor's not working right, but you can get them for $200 or $300, which is a steal still, and you will be able to bring it back to life. And then I also want to be able to help you if you want to be able to care for machines for your friends and family in your community. I want to give you the tools to do that too, because again, the more of us that know how to do this, the better we have to keep this industry going. So what this is all going to do, I hope, is going to help you to be self-reliant in keeping your machine going. I want you to avoid mishaps that happen with free advice on the internet. And I actually have another screenshot to share with you later of something that happened that I saw at 3 o'clock this morning. I want you to help you avoid paying fees to a technician, avoid being without your machine for any length of time, avoid your machine going to someone not so knowledgeable about the machines. And again, this is becoming more and more common, and confidently restore and bring back to life any machines that you find. So in order to participate in this workshop, I want to make sure you understand you do not have to be mechanically inclined or be an expert with tools. When I started working with the machines over 10 years ago, I was not mechanically inclined. I didn't really build anything. I didn't fix anything. I never even took anything apart. And if I can make it this far along, I promise you can too. You're not expected to purchase a whole lot of expensive tools. In fact, what you have in your kitchen drawer, if you have one of those drawers that collects all the stuff and you might have a few spare screwdrivers in there, you probably have what you need already. You're not required to purchase any super special chemicals or hard to find materials. I keep everything very basic and easy because I want it to be simplistic and achievable. And then you don't have to have a special workshop, a workbench. I started at my kitchen table, and I was in my house working in various tables for years before I had anything that we built. So today in the webinar, we're going to cover a few things. One, I want to talk about the SDOCS method, which is the exact same procedure we use every single day in the Sewing Doc Professional Service Shop. I'm going to talk to you about our hybrid learning method because we like to cater to every single learning style possible. We don't all learn it the same way. So everything is designed so that you do everything at your own pace, on your own schedule. If you work night shift, if you work day shift, if you have kids, if you have people to care for, we want to be able to accommodate whatever your circumstance is. And then we're also going to do a mini lesson on proper methods of caring for the outside of your Featherweight and 301 machine. So before I go on, today is going to be the day that open enrollment happens. For every single person that enrolls in a workshop today, and that's until 11:59 Eastern time, you are going to get a free bottle of our Blue Creeper lubricating cleaner. I'm going to talk to you in depth about what this is later. This is not something that's required when you clean your machine, but I discovered this about 8 years ago, and it's the only thing I've ever used in our shop since, and that's for modern, for vintage, for every single machine that comes in our shop. So I just want to let you know that's our bonus today, and I'll bring that up again at the end. So we have a few giveaways also that we're going to do today. The 3 people that hang into the webinar when we do an announcement at the end, you're going to get a free copy of my new book. You'll see that in just a second. The very first person to enroll today is going to get a full service kit with the Blue Creeper sewing machine oil, since you're already going to get the cleaner as well. And then 3 people that enroll in the workshop today are also going to get Blue Creeper sewing machine oil. And then 10 people that enroll today are going to get a copy of the book. So 3 people, you don't have to sign up for anything or enroll anything. You're already here. We're going to do that later. This is the book that I have coming out. It should be shipping in October. It's called My Fantastic Featherweight, and it is it's basically a record machine maintenance book. If some of you have collections and some of you are just getting started, it's a great place to record your machine service. So whether you do it yourself or you have someone else do it, you can keep the entire history there. It's going to allow you to record the actual history of the machine. So if you acquired it from a grandmother or you even bought it from someone, you can put the history in it. And that's important because eventually we need to pass on our machines to someone else. And it's really cool to have the history of things that were made on the machine or any nice stories that go with it. We had this discussion a while back where I have a lot of customers that are getting a little older and they're worried about who is going to take over their machine someday. And they're furiously trying to record all the information that goes with them. So there's a history with it. I have also included a favorite vendor log so that if you're restoring machines or fixing them, you can keep track of where you like to buy things. There's information on buying and selling machines, and you can record info on machines as they're purchased and sold. It's kind of an all around a book. And it's made to accompany this workshop. It's not required, but it also makes a nice gift even for people who don't want to care for their own Featherweight. So this is going to ship in October. It is up on the Sewing Doc Academy website as a pre-order, and I'm hoping probably by the 3rd week of October. All right, so let's get into the good stuff here. If you are a social media person, I would love it if you wanted to take a picture at any time and share it. We are trying so hard to get the word out. Like I said, I feel like our industry is really in a hurting place right now. My goal has always been to keep this alive. And the more people I can reach and say, yes, we're here. I just saw someone tag me in the Quiltville group this morning saying they're worried because nobody in their area takes care of vintage machines and she needs Featherweight service. And that's exactly what we're doing this for. It's to teach you to care for your own. And if somebody at some point wants to go on and care for others, we can do that too. But I want to make you self-reliant. So anybody that we can reach, the more the better. If you have questions, there is a chat box there. Paul, my husband, is kind of moderating those today. So you're welcome to post some questions in there. And at the end, I will answer as many questions as possible. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I am a quilter. I began quilting in 2008 on accident. Wasn't really planned. I didn't have any quilters in my family. Free motion is my most favorite, and I do free motion on domestic machines. I am a mother to a 12-year-old boy, and he does now have bigger feet than I do, and I wear a size 12 women's. So that should tell you something. I was born and raised in St. Louis, but I've been in Georgia for 20 years. I'm devoted to helping ex-felons have a new life after they are released from prison. I have a slight obsession with any and all sewing machines. Any of you that know me for a while, I have probably about 300 sewing machines in my possession, which is sometimes a burden. What I do, I service, repair, and restore sewing machines. Been doing this for over 10 years now. I teach others to service, repair, and restore sewing machines. I want to help you be less reliant on service technicians and those that use knowledge as power. That's a really big sticking point for me. And I want to provide as much accurate and detailed knowledge to sewists and quilters as possible. Because accurate information has been held hostage for so long in our industry, I want to give you a backstory of how I got here. And what I mean by that is I know that many of you had this experience when you've taken your machine in to have it serviced or looked at for a problem, and the service technician brings it back, sends you home, but there has been very little explanation about what the issue has been, nothing about how to prevent it, nothing about how to fix it or how to take care of it yourself without having to bring it back. And I've realized that there is a gap in generations where the older generation really did rely on hoarding this information because it was their career. And if the information got out, they were afraid that they would lose all of their clientele. We're to a point now where that's just not possible because those people with the information they're becoming non-existent. So I like to be very transparent about my history. So in 2009, we purchased my first Featherweight. We definitely invested a little more than we probably should have. Back then, you couldn't really just go online and find a Featherweight shop to purchase a machine from. But I fell in love from day one. And I was lucky enough to meet a lady in the area who was a Featherweight specialist. Her husband was an engineer, so he had started making these lubricants that were a little more updated. So he was a chemist, and she and he both were falling into health issues and age. And she kind of took me under her wing and passed on all of her information to me so that I could help keep the knowledge going. So that sort of led into collecting vintage machines. And then those are like rabbits where they just sort of multiply. They started showing up on our doorstep from people who didn't want them anymore. And that led to me researching vintage machines at an obsessive level. And I mean, my son was very young at the time, so it gave me a way to keep my brain occupied. And there was not a lot on the internet at the time, but I was just going through old documents, finding old vintage books, doing everything I could. I started reaching out to several sewing machine repair people that were independent. So not like your Bernina dealer or your brother dealer. I was looking for the people that were really into the vintage machines. And I did find a gentleman in Texas to apprentice with. And we had a great relationship with that because me being on the other side of the country meant I wasn't a threat to his business. So he didn't feel like I was going to slight him by using his information. Did that for a number of years. In March of 2011, I think I was on the verge of being the president of a large quilt guild, and word was getting out that I knew how to handle vintage machines. And in my quilt guild, I had a number of ladies approach me and say, I inherited my grandmother's treadle machine, but we don't know anything about it. Can you take a look? And then that kind of started the home business where I was working out of my home, and I was probably doing 3 to 4 machines a week at the time, which felt like a lot. So in 2013, I went back, found another apprentice, which is very, very hard to do on modern machines. Took some classes and figured out how to translate vintage work into modern machines. And then in 2015, I became a part owner of a local quilt shop. And in exchange for helping with the quilt shop, I started moving my business to the public, to brick and mortar. And then that's when things exploded. I started teaching the Featherweight workshop regularly, has always been my most popular class, and I have a feeling it probably always will be. And then in 2016, we had so much work coming into us for service, especially on the vintage machines, because no one else knew how to work on them. I tried to find other technicians, and there were none. So my husband left his job and his security and joined me, and then his brother also joined us at some point, and it's been the 3 of us ever since. We built the concept for the Academy in 2017, and my thinking at the time was, well, if there's no way to learn machine service, we can teach people how to take care of their own machines, and those that show potential, if they want to learn and apprentice with us, then we can kind of grow them with us, and then we can expand our team of technicians. And then 2018 and 2019, we did continue experimenting with this, and then COVID got us. But through that, COVID has taught us that there's probably better ways of doing it. We like the in-person learning because you get that kind of guided feeling where I'm standing there and helping you. The problem is when you're sitting in a live class, if your brain's like mine, you absorb all this information and you're excited about it, and you go home and you're good. 6 months later, when you go to service your machine, it's almost like what we call paralysis, where it's like, well, I kind of remember, but now I don't know. And you can look at your notes, but the notes you took don't make sense. So that kind of helped us to evolve to where we are today. And like I said, the number one issue that I feel like we're all facing is that most information you find online at best is guesswork or lucky fixes. In the Facebook groups, I love the groups. I spend a lot of time in Facebook groups, and that's mainly because I'm looking to see where your issues are, and I'm looking to see where people struggle. But it's so disheartening to see that somebody will say, well, I've never had that issue, but I had this issue with my machine, and maybe you should try this. Well, if it's not the same issue and you don't know how to diagnose it, you can end up in a worse situation. Same thing for bloggers. There's a lot of bloggers out there that will post a nice post about the issue they have there with their machine, and this is what I did to fix it, but that doesn't necessarily translate into the same issue that you're having. And then the same thing with vendors. There are some really good vendors out there, and I'm friends with most of them, but a lot of times they'll give information just based on the product that they're trying to sell. So there's really, while they're giving all the appropriate information, there is no flow, there's no path for you to follow. And again, this is what my brain usually looks like. In those first few years of trying to sort out how machines work and what I need to do, this is what I felt like, is that you can waste hours and hours looking for correct information, but you can still make things worse. So machine service should be routine, it should be methodical, and it should be a series of habits. To me, it's just like quilting with that same frame of mind. So we developed the SDOCS method, and I'm going to go through what that stands for, but it is the same procedure that we use every single day in our shop. It's a specific set of steps to clean, lubricate, and make minor repairs to your machine. It focuses on simplicity so that you build a series of habits. It keeps you from missing important steps in the process, and it ensures that your machine will keep sewing at its best and extend the overall lifetime. And I do feel that that's especially important on our featherweight machines, because while we know that they are workhorses, they are still fairly delicate compared to other machines. So the S stands for setup. We go through what you see on your screen on the right there is actually within the core lessons that you're going to get in the workshop. And each one has a drop-down menu. So under setup, we have, there's an intro, and then we have a whole section on the tools that you're going to need. And I cover everything from the bare minimum all the way through. If you're kind of obsessed with tools and like to have tools, I'll give you suggestions on that as well. Setting up a proper workspace, and then I have actual checklists that you can print out and take with you if you need to purchase anything. The D stands for disassemble covers. That means we're going to walk you through taking off all the parts that need to come off your machine, how to properly store them so that you don't lose screws, and keep in mind what screws go where. The O is for overall clean and lubricate. This is one of two pieces that are the really big meat of the workshop. So you have, you can see on the right there, a long list of things that are in there. And I broke it down in a very specific manner, because when you're working through the workshop, you can stop and you can pause and take your time going through the sections. You may have a machine that hasn't been touched in 30 years with so much lubricant in it that it's going to take you 2 weeks to kind of break down that lubricant. Or you may have already gone through the workshop, and then 6 months later, you may have, go back, and when you go to clean one part, you're trying to remember something. You can easily go into your workshop and click on specifically the section you need. That way you're not having one long video that you need to forward through. And then the other big portion is covers and external. And it got kind of weird trying to break this part up, but it has you putting the covers and parts back on. We go through putting the motor belt back on and getting the correct tension, cleaning the motor brushes and re-lubricating the motor, taking apart the upper tension assembly, which I will tell you is usually the scariest part. If you've ever seen me in person, I actually have a tattoo on my arm of a tension assembly, and that part of that is a reminder of where I came from. So we walk you through disassembling the entire hook assembly where your bobbin goes. We talk about the electrical and lead cord and how to change a light bulb, which seems like it should be easy, but it's, I don't know why they made light bulbs so difficult in featherweight machines. And then in the last section, the S is the sew and adjust. So we're going to go through talking about bobbin cases and how much the authenticity matters, replacing the tension spring when it needs it, putting the needles in. We're going to test it and make sure all the balance is good. And then I always have bonus modules too. So we'll go through that in a minute. But the sense of accomplishment when you do this yourself, I will never forget the first time I sat down with Sharon, who was the lady that I worked with, and took all the parts off, cleaned it myself and put it back together, and it still sewed. Was a really good feeling. So no more Googling for answers, hoping for the best. No more relying on a stranger to treat your machine the way you would, hopefully. No more service fees. And no more icky feelings when you feel like you've been taken by a service technician. And I hate that last part, but Paul and I can both tell you that we can tell when a customer has come in to the shop that has been either treated poorly or been, I don't know, maybe charged inappropriately for service, because we usually get punished for it at some point. And I don't want that for you. So the Featherweight Service Workshop gives you this entire system. And we have a hybrid learning curriculum that we've developed. We have two parts to it. So the first part is the on-demand and self-led learning. When you sign up, you have instant access to the on-demand lessons, which we call the core lessons. Those are the things you're going to have for life. We add new case studies each month. So that means when I'm going through our service queue and a Featherweight comes in, I basically make a video of the entire process, and then that goes into the learning library. The reason I feel like this is important is because it's impossible for me to predict any odd, strange circumstances that come up on machines. When we walked through the core lessons, it'll apply to all machines, but especially if you want to restore or care for machines that have an odd issue, the motor goes bad, the wiring is weird, it's impossible to recreate that. So I want to have a nice library of case studies that you could refer to at any time. We have private communities so you can share your victories and your excitement with each other. If you just clean your machine for the first time, we want to know about it. We are going to do that both on Facebook and off Facebook, because everybody's in a different place of where they are with social media. There's always a place to comment and ask questions in each lesson, and then I go through there daily and answer the questions. So that's kind of the on-demand and learning side. One of the biggest questions we have is technology. We are all a little further along, I think, after the last year and a half with using technology. All of you have gotten into the webinar just fine. You basically need a computer, a laptop, a tablet, or a cell phone. So if you're watching this video, you obviously have the same capability to watch the lessons. You're going to click on each lesson, click play on the video, or read the written instructions. And then you can pause, rewind, skip around, and do whatever you need to do in the material. This is a screenshot of what it looks like in the classroom. So on the left, you're always going to have your menu where you can click to different places. And on the right, you're always going to have the video or the written text. Now, the second part, which is with every single tier of workshop we have, is the live guided learning. The reason I felt this was important, again, was, with the on-demand, we sold the on-demand workshop for 2 years by itself, and it was fantastic. The issue that I felt like we had with that is that there's going to be issues that come up with your machine, and it's really hard to proceed when you're uncertain and there's no one to ask. So you're going to have access to live online classes at least once a month. It's probably going to be more frequently as our classes and our workshops fill up. So you'll be able to log on and do a live class with me. You're going to have live Q&A sessions every single week. So each week in both of the communities, we're going to put up a space where if you've run into a specific issue, you can post pictures, you can put an entire dialogue of what the issue is, and I will address them live each week. We're going to do one-on-one consultation as it's needed as well. So that's both sides of our learning. That's why we call it hybrid. For technology, the only difference is that if you're using a computer instead of a laptop, you're going to just need an external webcam if you choose to participate that way. I don't have to see your face if you don't want to. What really comes in handy, though, is that if you have an issue with your machine, then you can turn your camera or whatever you need to do and show me your machine. That's one of the things that we have found have worked really great with this setup. And then you're going to interact with me and you're going to interact with each other. With all of us having been cooped up for so long, the thing we love the most about service workshops is that they're very social, because when you're cleaning and scrubbing gears, there's not a lot for me to talk about. So you get to talk amongst yourselves, and that will still happen virtually. So I feel like that's kind of an added benefit. This is just a filler piece. I just wanted to show you, you're in Zoom right now, so it's going to look exactly the same when we're in a class. So that gives you an idea of what it's going to look like. So we're going to talk about our mini lesson, which is cleaning the exterior of the machine. And actually last night, so remember what I said about relying on random info and suggestions to find in Facebook groups. I have insomnia. I'm awake almost every single night at 3 o'clock on the dot. And I'm scrolling through Facebook, and I took screenshots, but I did cover up her identification. And she had a frantic call for help. And you can see the picture here. This is what she had posted, and it's a Singer 301. She had taken someone's advice and used the, what is that called? Something awesome. It's basically an ammonia-based cleaner. Someone told her, if you have nicotine buildup, use this to scrub the machine. And I was so heartbroken because if you look at the close-up video from the picture from her video, she's completely removing the clear coat and the paint from the machine because she didn't know that ammonia is going to eat away at the surface. So that's, again, these posts is what drives me to get as much information out there as possible, because once that machine is stripped like that, the only way to recover it is to strip the entire machine and repaint it. So I just wanted to share that. The timing couldn't have been better. This is the same information you're going to get in the workshop, but there's only 3 different materials I recommend to clean the exterior of your machine. One is old school, and it's kerosene. There are a few people that still promote the use of kerosene. My biggest issue is 1, fumes, and 2, it is extremely flammable. So when I started, working in the quilt shop as a service desk, there was no way I was going to take kerosene into the shop. That's something that flammable. It does work great because it's going to not leave a residue on your machine. It'll leave it one inside the machine, but it's gentle on the decals, it's gentle on the surface, and it will take off stubborn like adhesives and things. But again, to me, the flammability is just not worth it. And you kind of have to do it outside. The second thing is sewing machine oil. You can be a little bit more lax on what you use. I would not use anything more than a lily white or something clear. I don't love the Singer sewing machine oil. I would use it for the outside, but I don't recommend the Singer brand much for the inside of the machine. And then there's Blue Creeper, which I know most of you probably have not heard of Blue Creeper. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. I am an absolute purist when it comes to cleaning machines. I'm very methodical. I use things that have been proven. So it takes something very special for me to consider a new product. And Blue Creeper was a very new product for me. It is a lubricating cleaner, which means if there's any residue that stays in your machine, it just helps the machine. It doesn't really cause any harm. Whereas, we're going to tell you never to put WD-40 in your sewing machine. There's a long list of things I'm going to tell you never to put in your sewing machine. But Blue Creeper, can get into tight spaces. It's called creeper because it actually creeps and gets into tight spaces. It was actually developed for the logging industry up in Connecticut. I never remember where they are, but they figured they work in very moist, wet environments when they're cutting down trees in snow. So they carry this with them and they lubricate their blades. And turns out that it does unstick sewing machines. I think it has worked 1,000 times better than kerosene on a machine that is completely frozen and won't move. So rusted, or if it's just been mistreated, I can get machines freed up faster with Blue Creeper than I can with kerosene. And that's the other thing. It does treat surface rust. So if you have a screw on the outside of your machine that's got rust on it, you can use this to clean it off, and it keeps a nice light coating on there to keep it from returning. But it also treats aluminum rods, which happens. The way it came about is a gentleman named Scott Kennedy, who is very well known in the vintage machine community. I think he has since retired from restoring machines, but he was doing a bunch of research on an alternative to kerosene as well, and did years of testing before he declared it safe. So, and the most important thing for those of us that are vintage enthusiasts is the exterior of the machine. I do offer you tons of alternatives in the workshop, so that if you don't want to purchase Blue Creeper, you don't have to. I do give you alternatives. The problem is you have to be very careful about dripping anything on the surface of your machine. But Blue Creeper will not disturb decals, and that's really important to me. So it was so successful that Scott Kennedy worked with the log rod company, and they actually developed a sewing machine oil together. Again, it's not necessary, but I switched over to the oil as soon as it was available about 6 years ago, and we use it on every single machine that comes in our shop. The bottle is probably very deceiving. It's a 1 ounce bottle with a nice little needle nose neck on there. I don't know what you call that, but it's very thin. It gets into tight places, and a little bit goes a very long way. And to give you a frame of reference, the little bottle lasts me about 2 to 3 months, and I do an average of 80 machines a month. So you figure I may get about 230 machines out of one little bottle. I should also mention that when in an area we used to live in, we used to go to the bookstore, and every time you would open the door, it had this awful, awful squeak to it. And I don't know how many times I threatened to bring my bottle of Blue Creeper to fix that issue. So you can use it around your house too. All right, so I'm going to show you how this works on an actual machine. So if you can give me just a second, I am going to get set up. All right, give me just a second to get. All right, so what you see here, I've got a customer's Featherweight. She granted me permission to use it, and I'm glad because you can see it's very dirty. It's been acquired. It's not something she's had for a while, but there's all kinds of dirt and residue on it. Let me see if I can make the light a little better. All right, so I have my little bottle of Blue Creeper here. I don't know if you can see it. This camera is not great for that part, but I have my little bottle of Blue Creeper. And what I also do is this is just a 99-cent bottle from Walmart. I love these things. You can take this bottle and put half of it in one of these little spray bottles, and it's going to give you a nice fine mist. So there's 2 different ways that I use Blue Creeper. This is a shop towel. I tell you this all in the workshop, but I recommend using shop towels over regular paper towels because they're stronger, they're going to clean better, and they're a lot softer. They're not going to shred and leave dust all over the place. So they're fairly lint-free. With the Blue Creeper, you can either take the bottle and just put a little bit on there. It does not take much. And then I'm going to show you. It's going to start taking off, if you can see. Yeah, it's going to start taking off the residue. The other way to use it is to take the spray bottle and put a few squirts on there, and then you can see it covers the cloth better. But I'm going to wipe over this. The only time I'm going to tell you to be really careful about the decals, if you know that you bought a machine where the clear coat is coming off, you might have some chips or some damage to your decals. I would not scrub over them. I am not using hardly any pressure at all. Unfortunately, the finish on this machine, you can tell it's been sitting in the heat. I don't know if it'll picks it up on the camera, but it does have some heat damage to where it's got that crinkle finish a little bit. There's only so much you can do to bring back a finish that that has had heat to it, but you can see the difference between what's clean and not clean. And again, the cloth is really picking up the. Right. So I'm going to work my way around. You can use this on the metal. You can use it on the paint. You can use it on the motor. I'm going to go back here to the motor. The motor's pretty bad. Let's see if I can get this glare off of here. So back here on the motor, it is extremely dirty, but you can see the amount of residue coming off. What I like to do when I clean a machine, this is the very last step I do before it goes back to the customer. After the Blue Creeper has been put on it, I leave it sit for a couple hours, and then it is going to leave a slight, I wouldn't say a residue, but it's going to leave a little bit on the surface, and you want that because it's going to protect it. People ask me all the time, is it going to matter when you go to sew on it? It won't, I promise. So if you want to, once it's clean, you can go ahead and take a dry one, and it's going to still keep bringing up stuff, but that'll take off any extra residue. Especially if you have a collection that you're not using every day, it's going to be real easy to get your machines cleaned. And if you store them where you're displaying them instead of in boxes, the Blue Creeper is actually going to help the dust repel. So there's a lot of things I really like about the Blue Creeper. But again, you can see I'm working over the decals. It's just taking off the dirt. but it's not damaging anything. You can do this with sewing machine oil as well. And if you really, really want to use the kerosene, then go for it. But it would be the exact same process. And you're just going to keep using pieces of shop cloth until it's clean. So you may have to go over it. If it's anything like this one, you may have to go over it 3 or 4 times. Take this up here. I know a lot of people want to know what the smell is like. Again, one of the reasons I got away from kerosene is because of the fumes. I am very sensitive to smell. The best way that I can describe the smell of the Blue Creeper is that it's got a slight minty smell. But as sensitive as I am to the smell of things, in all the years I've been using Blue Creeper, I almost don't notice it, or if I do, it's pleasant. So that's really important to me. Okay, so you get an idea of what I'm doing here. The thing you want to avoid the most, you do not want to get any cleaner or lubricant or anything on your belt. And also, if you were to take the hand wheel off and clean in here, you don't want to get any of this cleaner underwear, anywhere that the belt runs, because it's gonna lose its grip. So I'm just very careful when I clean around anything where the belt touches. Okay, and if anybody has any questions like that, you want to drop it in there, Paul will let me know and I can answer them when we get to the end. Give me just a second and I'm going to switch this over. What's that?
Nicely done.
Okay. Let me get back on track here. Oh, I gotta move this back over. We're working in a tight space today, so. All right. All right, so again, if you have any questions about Blue Creeper or cleaning, I will definitely answer those for you. Everything that I do, and I know I've said this a number of times, everything I do, I think about very methodically, because the whole point is to fast track everything. I did all of the work in the beginning. 13 years ago, when I started this endeavor, I did the painful part of looking for people with the knowledge that will be willing to pass on the knowledge. And now I kind of feel like it's my duty to take on the knowledge for you as well. So I want to remind you of the modules. This is just sort of a breakdown, so you'll see how it works. Module 1 is the setup. Module 2 is disassemble covers. Module 3 is overall clean and lubricate. Module 4 is covers and exterior. Module 5 is sew and adjust. And then we have some of our bonus modules. So if you have a Singer 222, which is the kind of the one we all want, with the free arm, there is a very specific section. I'm almost finished with that one. That'll be in there because there are some minor differences between a 222 and your standard 221. Same for the white or celery edition. Mainly that the inside is belt driven rather than gear driven. And then also with the 301. So it covers all of those models. It does not apply to any other sewing machine on earth. Even if it's a Singer 99 that just looks like a big heavy version, there is no other machine on earth that is designed the same way that the Featherweights and 301s are. We have replacement parts and sources, so you'll learn about the most commonly replaced parts and where to get them. Authentic bobbin case identification. This is really important when you're buying a sewing machine so that you know what you're getting. And then accessory parts identification. So all these things are part of what's already in there. This is what's coming. Like I said in the beginning, it's impossible for me to put out in one shot everything that we want to be able to cover. So we're going to add advanced polishing methods. So I'm going to tell you already in the workshop how to clean the chrome that's on your machine, but we are going to add another component that has advanced polishing methods if you want to do something more. Replacing the light socket, which is a very common issue. Replacing the light switch, another common issue. Treating aluminum rot. I hope this is not something you have to do on your machines, but it does happen. And it would be a shame to lose a Featherweight that has just sort of the ugly duckling exterior when we can treat it and make it usable. Internal rewiring, full motor service where you're going to disassemble the motor, clean everything out, put it back together, full motor rewiring, and how to purchase, to fix and sell. And shipping a machine, because again, that's another issue that comes up a lot. We are also seeking, I would like to bring in 2 specialists for 2 other things to work with. One of them is full stripping, repainting, and adding decals. That is not something that I teach you in this workshop. I have people that contact me all the time about restoring featherweights, vintage machines, all these things, and they really want someone that can do from beginning to end. And I always tell them, you're never going to find someone that does both. You might, I mean, there are people that do repaint featherweights, but you're not going to find that where they're going to, I guess, other than that, you're not going to find people that do both, because they're 2 very different skills and they both require a whole lot of different things. So I would like to find a specialist that can work with us with that. And then also full instruction on using feet and accessories, not feed. I have a couple customers that do like to do heirloom sewing, and the Featherweight made fantastic attachments to work with the machine. I know people that use the ruffler, and I can't even name all of them because that is so not my forte, but we want to find someone that will help you get use out of all of your feet and accessories. So all of our modules and handouts, we do copyright everything because it takes so much time and energy to produce all of this. We do not allow you to take this material and teach someone else, or we ask that you don't. What I would prefer that you do is that you refer people to us so we can teach them. But we do design this so that you can take all of the knowledge and you can use it to clean and maintain the featherweights of your friends, your family, people that you know. If there's people in your church or in your quilt guild that have a featherweight and they need help, you'll be able to help them. We also want to use this workshop to for people that want to save the ones, like I was talking about on eBay, you can sometimes find a machine for $200. And the reason it's still sitting there so cheap is because it does need work. And if you don't know how to fix it, it's too intimidating. So we want to be able to give you the tools and teach you how you can acquire those. Or if you're, at a yard sale, if you find a needle in a haystack, that's crazy. But we want to help you be able to turn them and sell them for profit or add to your collection. We are working on a future certification program. This is very important to me. I feel like this is our future. What's going to happen when that comes is that you'll sign up for a study group. We're going to work with you all the way through this knowledge so you know it from a professional level. And then when you're ready, you'll be asked to demonstrate your knowledge and skill, both through testing and demonstration. So as it is right now, COVID is still eluding us. We don't know what the future holds right now, but we are working on developments to be able to do this through the same online methods that we're using now. But eventually we would like to travel to different regions when the full academy is up so that we can do in-person training and testing. That will probably be 2023 or later if I had to guess. The certification benefits, and if this is not your thing, I will warn you, the thing is that once you get into doing this, you may love it so much that you change your mind, because I would never have told you 13 years ago that buying a featherweight and learning how to clean it would lead to where I am now. So, but the certification benefits is that it gives you credibility to your potential customers. It allows us to promote you in our network of qualified and certified technicians. It will help you build your side retirement or full-time income. And we would like to work with a small group of experienced folks to become a regional instructor for our Sewing Doc Academy. So we're working on as many possibilities of, again, bringing back independent technicians to all the communities. When hand-cut fabrics closed, that really killed the independent industry for sewing machine service. If you take your featherweight to a brother dealer, you may have another old school technician there, but it's becoming more and more rare. So we hope that some of you will become that person for us. Just a reminder that a cost for one service in our shop is $82. That's just the basic service fee for a featherweight or for any mechanical machine. So if you have a collection, you can do the math at what you'll save after just a year. Restoration in our shop starts at $125, and very rarely is it that low. And we're actually on the low end of what people charge for restoration. You save time by not driving to and from the service shop and waiting on your machine. You'll have clear instruction instead of filtering through all that information on the internet. And it saves you time and money by doing it right the first time, unlike our poor lady with the ammonia cleaner. All right, so here's what you get in our workshops. We have 3 different tiers. The basic is going to have lifetime access to all of those core lessons I talked about and the downloads. You're going to have live stream classes with me for 3 months and Q&A sessions for 3 months. and lifetime access to community support. So that's the Facebook group and the private community group. And all future bonuses, expansion modules. So when we add the complex things like motor rewiring or replacing the light socket, all that's going to be included. And then you get a discount on parts or anything you order from us for 3 months. For the middle VIP package, you're going to get everything you see in basic. The difference is you're going to have lifetime access to the live stream classes, and that includes the advanced modules. The difference is on like the motor rewiring or the very big complex ones. In the basic, you're only going to get the video modules. For the VIP, we will also have live classes that you can participate in. So you'll get both. You'll have lifetime live Q&A sessions that we do every week. You're going to get a lifetime discount on parts you order from us. And you will have 2 free 5-minute consultation sessions. You can hold on to those so that if you do acquire a machine that has an odd situation or something you're unsure about, then you can consult with me. It'll be private, and it's just like we're doing now. And then we have assistance in locating replacement parts. That doesn't mean like bobbins and belts. It's when you have a bigger issue, like if the hook is broken, the entire assembly has to be replaced, or any odd thing that's not your normal wear and tear. That is, to me, the best value because you're still going to get everything for life. You never know what's going to come up down the road. We do have a diamond package, and that's everything from those two. And that is, you also get a private 2.5-hour live workshop with instructors. So you'll still get to do the monthly classes, but we'll get to do the same thing just with you and I. You also get 15 minutes private consultation per month. And this is really for those that either have a collection of machines you're working through, or if you intend to potentially acquire machines to recover them and sell them, or if you want to offer your services to your community. And then you're going to get a free service kit, which includes the Blue Creeper cleaner and the sewing machine oil. So again, anybody that purchases today is going to get the Blue Creeper cleaner. So we have until 11:59 p.m. for that. The basic workshop is $129. As a reminder, you pay the $129 fee one time. This is not monthly. This is not a subscription. It's a one-time fee. For the VIP package, it is $199. So you're going to get all of the live classes, Q&A, everything for $199. And then the diamond package is $349. I was very, very particular about not having reoccurring charges because there's nothing worse than thinking you canceled something and then 6 months down the road realize you're still paying for it. I have a picture here of our website. If you want to go ahead. This is our parts and supply store. Right now, I only have things that pertain to the Featherweight and 301 up there. We do have the pre-order book. I have service kits. I have Blue Creeper. I have oil. I have all kinds of things up there. So that's on our website at sewingdocacademy.com. So we have a couple ways our enrollment is open. Paul is going to paste the link into the chat box if you want to go that way. Otherwise, you can type the link into your browser, and you can also go the long way through the website. So if you go to sewingdocacademy.com, you can click on workshops and then the Featherweight workshop, and then it's going to take you to the enrollment page. So if you're still here, I would love it if you would type your full name into the chat box. So after the webinar is over, anybody that's still here, we're going to put all your names into a bag. I'm going to draw 3 names, and I will contact you. As soon as our book comes in October, we're going to ship it to you for free. So I am going to go ahead and do some Q&A. I think Paul has taken some notes there. And I'm going to, oh, wrong one, hold on. Too many cameras. All right. Okay, so somebody had asked about is there a difference between servicing the 222? And yes, so I did cover that briefly, but again, the biggest difference on the 222 is that the base of the machine is set up slightly different than either the 301 or the 221. There is a separate component for all of those machines. The main core lessons are based on just the regular 221, and those cover all the machines, but there is another section for each, the 301 and the 222 and the white version, that's going to tell you what those differences are and how to treat them. I will definitely ship parts to Canada. Right now, we just got our website shifted over. So if you would email me, Canada, it's easier for me to do it that way until we get our website figured out. I also wanted to note on parts and things, when you put in an order, it's going to probably show you shipping charges that are a little higher than they should be. nobody has ever created a program that gives you good shipping. So we do refund any overages on your shipping. If you get charged $12 for shipping and it only costs us $6, I'm going to refund you those $6. So is that all the questions?
Yeah, did you see the one about Canada?
Yes, I did. Okay. And I think that's all I have. So if you have any questions through the website on sewingdocacademy.com, you can hit any of the contact forms. I will continue to answer questions that way. If you're still on the fence about what you, I see some more in here in the chat, about what package might be good for you, or anything like that, I can answer that. The enrollment is open for the next 6 days or until we hit our limit. And that's because we need to get everyone integrated in. And then we are going to open enrollment again. So it will probably be another 6 weeks before we open enrollment. Let's see, Janice is asking upgrading. Yes, after the first sign up, you can usually upgrade. What you'd have to do is if you want to upgrade, you'll have to message me, and then we can send you a link so that you're not having to repurchase all over again. I can definitely show you, if you can be patient with me, Linda, I will be glad to show you the screen again. And if you click through to the enrollment, the link that Paul posted into the chat, could you post it in there one more time?
Yeah.
Paul's going to post the link in there again. If you go to that page, it has the exact same layout. It's going to show you everything you get with each one split up so that you can decide which one works best for you. And let's see if I'm missing anything else. Okay, as time passes, can someone upgrade from VIP to Diamond? Yes, you can. So I think I've answered that one already, but if you decide on one particular plan and you want to upgrade, again, you'll have to email me and we'll have to kind of do it through the back door, but we would definitely be glad to upgrade you if you need to later. And will those no, so okay, so Eliza, you had asked about any of the one that has a 201 and a cabinet. No, I will touch on this a little bit. This workshop is literally just for the Featherweight and 301, and that's because these are so completely differently engineered. What most people don't realize is the Featherweights were made for you to maintain. They were made for the user, and they're the only ones that have ever been that way. So our next launch is hopefully the first week of January is going to be the vintage machine workshop. And that's going to cover not just one model, but every vintage machine. So if you have a Kenmore or a Brother, from the 50s, if you have a Singer 99 or a 201, we are going to cover every model of vintage machine in that workshop. So it's a completely different workshop, unfortunately. And enrollment is open right now. And somebody's asking if I'm using the cleaner or oil. Okay, so Tammy, I was using the Blue Creeper cleaner in this demo. You can use sewing machine oil the exact same way. And the reason I like the Blue Creeper is that I feel like it does a better, at least a nice residue. But a lot of times you acquire a machine where somebody has put the dreaded masking tape across where their seam allowance is. And if it's been there for 20 years, the acid from the masking tape kind of embeds into the finish. If you have stickers or any type of adhesive on there, it's going to take it off so much more gently than sewing machine oil does. So that's the reason I prefer the cleaner. Let's see. The machine that I was using was a 221. So I'm not sure who asked, Patty had asked that. And for those of you asking, we gave you the price. And then, yeah, so, and I have some questions about doing modern machines. This is our longer term route. The program we've come up with in the short term is called Remove Your Covers. So in those, there's on specific families of machines. So let's just say that you have, this is a tough one. Let's say you have a Singer 4422, which is the heavy duty gray machine that people love right now. We're gonna do one-time purchase workshops are much lower in cost. You're looking at somewhere between $30 and $70. And we're going to tell you how to take the covers off those machines, clean them out. So we are addressing modern machines. We're going to do it for the fancy computerized machines all the way down to the basic Singers. And that's because, again, the shortage in technicians is going to keep growing. If you have a basic Singer machine that you bought 10 years ago that you paid $120 for, it hardly makes sense that when something goes wrong to go in and pay $82 to have it serviced when it just needs basic cleaning. Our job is to help you clean it yourself so that you can keep it going. So you can bypass the serviceman unless there's really something wrong. So we do have programs in place for all of those. We started with the with the Featherweight because I had this program up and going already in person and through on demand, and it made sense to meld them together and to start that going. So I would say the next 8 months are going to be a flurry of activity. So we're going to have something for everyone in there. And let me see if there is new messages.
Okay, that one on the 222, should she wait to start servicing that?
No, no, not at all. No.
So the 221.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay. So Jules is asking about the motor on the celery. Yes. Well, so when we do the motor, what we don't have in there right now is a section on motor service itself. With the celery one, you would bypass having to lubricate it because the only way to lubricate it is to take it apart. It's not set up the same way, but we do tell you that in the workshop. And no, Blue Creeper does not remove the paint on the 221. I tell you what, I know there's a lot of people that are fanatical about the goop. I see that repeatedly in the workshops, whether it's in the vintage machine group or the Featherweight group, people constantly recommend using goop on the outside of the machine. I'm a purist. If it works for you, that's great, but I would never put goop on my machine. So, oh, sorry, Julie, I see it now. Okay, so how long the enrollment for this first session was going to be 6 weeks, or 6 days. So the enrollment closes on the 21st. And that's if we don't fill it up completely. So I think that is all of the questions. I see someone has lost their login. We will help you get that settled. Again, if there's something you think of, please email me. I would not recommend contacting me on Facebook. I am the worst about keeping up with messages there, but thank you all for being with me today. This has been, I work pretty solo these days. I have a home workshop. I'm actually in an ambulance. I don't know if you can tell. This is my home workshop and recording studio, and I love it, but I have really, really missed my community. So I'm so excited to get back to this part. And it makes me feel less crazy that I am this fanatical about sewing machines because I know I'm not alone. So, okay. Well, again, thank you all. And I'm going to draw 3 names out of here, and I'm going to let you know. If you have any questions, let me know. So bye.